Welcome back to the second episode of Bubble Buddies, the podcast that brings you only the most mediocre of coverage and lukewarm takes on the NWHL. We are the Buddies. I'm Claire Palmer. We've got Nick Emanuele and my brother Cameron Palmer. And tonight we are joined by one of the most esteemed of guests, Alyssa Turner, who you may know from the Toronto 6 social media feeds and other NWHL socials to help us preview this season for the Toronto 6. Alyssa, why don't you just introduce yourself a little bit?
Of course. My name is Alyssa Turner. I am currently, I kind of do a whole bunch of stuff in the NWHL social media world. But my main roles are I manage the Toronto 6 Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all the above, and same with the Metropolitan Riveters. I've always loved hockey. I've been working in women's hockey for the past few years. I used to do some stuff for the Toronto Furies of the CWHL, and then they sadly, the league folded, as we know, and then hopped on with the NWHL of January last year, and now I'm here working basically full time for them and loving every minute of it.
Sweet. So I guess by the time that this podcast is going to go up, we're going to be about 24 hours away from puck drop for the Toronto 6. So how you feeling kind of leading up to puck drop there?
I don't feel ready, in all honesty with you. I actually, right before this call, just wrote out, a huge list of things that I need to get done tonight. So, in order to, be organized for tomorrow. And, it's a steep list. But I'm excited. It's overwhelming. I have, as I mentioned earlier, I have a lot of different positions and a lot of, different little roles and side things going on. But I love how, involved I am in that way. But I'm excited. It's been the longest off season in the history of off seasons. I've been with the NWHL since last January, but I hopped on the league accounts in March. So all through COVID, all through everything, I was knee deep, head first in everything. So I ran their Twitter draft and stuff, and all of this off season signings. So it's been a really long time coming for some real life hockey, and I honestly couldn't be more excited to not only watch it, but of course cover it and just be a part of it.
So with the season kind of just getting started, I was thinking it'd be fun if we all just kind of said what we're most excited for. So I'm really fired up to see the defense of the team, and you're the only person who's really seen the team play because it's just been practices and no one else is allowed in the arena because of COVID. So I'm fired up for the defense and to see how the goalies do. What are you excited for? Everyone can take a turn.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, you can go first.
I'm excited for just everything, and that's a basic answer, but they got a fast team. I know, so they couldn't practice full squad until about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So we were only allowed 10 people on the ice at once for months, for 3 or 4 months. So I never really a lot of the practices were almost skills sessions. So it wasn't they weren't running full lines. They were doing power play and stuff, but they weren't doing full on hockey things. But over the last few weeks, they've been able to practice full squad, and there were so many moments where I was just supposed to be taking photos or supposed to be taking video, and I was just watching in awe because they're so fast. They're so big. Their defenders are smooth skaters. The goaltending's so good. And I'm excited to see them in the NWHL because a lot of these players have never even stepped foot in the NWHL sphere. Sorry, that was a vague answer, but everything is the best way to put that.
Yeah, Nick, you want to go?
Claire, you were saying, somebody was saying defense. I already forgot who said it, but I'll stay on that end of the ice kind of and say the goaltending. So Sam Ridgewell, who's one of the two tenders, I know she played in Sweden last year, her rookie professional season, and she was third in terms of SDHL rookies in save percentage, and both the other two rookies were, had significant professional experience. So she was a proper professional rookie, came in and played fantastic, stole the crease from the incumbent starter there. So her and Elaine Julie, I think, are going to be really a joy to watch. And we talked about it in the last episode, but in a short tournament like this, goaltending is going to be paramount. So as a Six fan, I'm glad that they have that covered.
So for me, I'm just excited to watch the Toronto Six, I'd say, have a new team to cheer for. Because obviously we used to have the Toronto Furies, but it was rare to have the opportunity to actually watch that team play, right? But now with this partnership with Twitch, like we can watch every game and actually see them. So it just gives us a new opportunity to see a local women's hockey team that we didn't used to have.
And so Cameron, now that you've heard Alyssa kind of talk about how fast the team's going to be, so Cameron actually has them last in the standings. He's the only one. Nick and I are a little higher. We both think that they're going to make the semis. But Cameron, do you want to change your answer at all?
Someone thinks they're going to make the finals.
I did say that
finals and lose to Boston in typical Toronto fashion.
I hope they do well, and it wouldn't surprise me because as I've seen, there's plenty of talent on that team. But just because they weren't in the league last year, there's not really much to compare them to. So maybe they'll win, maybe they'll come last. Like it's kind of a wild card.
Sweet.
I feel like with new teams, like you kind of like your expectation is like not really anywhere, right? Because you don't have anything to compare it to, and like only like 3 of our players, maybe 4, have played in the NWHL before, and like even then they didn't play long. Like Michaela Grant-Mentis played like 3 games with the Buttes last year. Dark Angels played a couple seasons. Emma Greco played a season with the Whale, and I think that's played in the NWHL. So it's hard to like actually like have a proper prediction for a team and players that have never even played the NWHL like style.
Plenty of players played in the CWHL and plenty that have played overseas and stuff. But so yeah, they've all got the talent set, but they haven't played in this league. So yeah, it's just hard to predict in advance how they'll perform together.
Mm-hmm.
What's your sense, Alyssa, of the chemistry between the team? Obviously, it's going to be one of the tougher things, as you know, all the other teams to some extent have played together in the past, but obviously as a new team, there's only so much you can do in practice. What's your sense of the chemistry between them?
Yeah, so in all honesty, like I have pretty big confidence in the team's chemistry itself. Quite a few of the players like know each other. They've either played, so we have a few Markham Thunder players, we have quite a few Toronto Fury players, and we have a few as well that have played with each other back in juniors. So Amy Curlew and Michaela Grant-Mentis actually played together for a few years with the Mississauga. They were the Mississauga Chiefs. They're not the Chiefs anymore. And so we have quite a few players that have known each other for a long time. Michaela Grant-Mentis and Sam Ridgewell have played together at Merrimack for 4 years. And obviously they don't have, I think it'll be hard to like, it might take a few games to fully build like the team, like the game, like game day chemistry and stuff. But from what I've seen in practice and like from what like I've just like seen in general from the team itself and like the vibe they give off, they have pretty good confidence and they have a lot of fun when they play too. Like they're just happy to be there. Like, you know, like they're just like the practices, there's always yelling, there's always like noises, like everything's always fun. The sellies in the practice are unreal. Like everything's just high energy, high tempo, and they're just having a lot of fun. I think the energy level will be something that's going to surprise a lot of people from this team.
So what's been your favorite celly then that you've seen so far? Like who was it? What was the goal? What was the celly?
I didn't see it, but I saw pictures of it. But apparently, like, so when they do like last goal wins kind of games and stuff like that, Digit makes sure that they celebrate. Like she's like, celebrate like you just won the Isabel Cup kind of thing. And there are a few photos of Amy Curlew out there like celebrating, like she just like one knee kind of thing. And I wasn't at that practice, but I saw the photos and I like mentioned it to her the next time I saw her, like, yo, like, how'd you score like that? Those photos were sick. And she goes, actually, I missed the net, but I thought I scored. So I celebrated way too hard and I missed the net. So that one would probably be my favorite. Bucky scored in a shootout a few weeks ago, and Curlew and Sarah Ev were on the bench, and they were doing this, and that was pretty funny. Also, I got that on film and I've posted it, but before that clip, like Curlew yells, so Michaela Grant Mentis' nickname is Bucky. Curlew yells Buck yeah really loud, but it doesn't sound like Buck at all. But it was, and I almost posted the wrong one that was clipped with that. But that was probably either that one or the one where she missed the net was probably been my favorite.
So going back to when we were talking about chemistry there, I noticed there's 4 players on the roster who used to play for Quinnipiac University. If I'm understanding correctly, they did play together for 1 year, so I guess they'll have some chemistry. But is that just a coincidence, or is there something there, like a stronger connection?
I don't know if it's coincidence. I think it's
like they
it
sign
actually
one
mentioned-
player and then the others want to join along.
Yeah, they all know each other pretty well, right?
Yeah.
So those 4 all played in the CWHL. Yeah, there's 3 or 4.
Yeah.
4.
One
Sorry,
of them is Dark
my numbers
Angela.
are mixed up because Babstock is also a Bobcat, but she got traded. So my Quinnipiac numbers. Oh, Sarah Ev, that's the other one. So Sarah Ev hasn't played the CWHL, but the captains, Greco, Darkangelo, and Woods, have all played in the CWHL. They've known each other for a long time. And I also think like our coaching staff and our management just has a lot of respect for the Quinnipiac like program and whatnot. So coincidence maybe, but also like makes sense at the same time.
Yeah, I feel like they must produce good kids, lots of talent from that program, I guess. And on top of that, so the coach that coached them there, when she played college hockey, she was actually coached by Bridget Murphy.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I don't know, maybe there's something there
too.
Yeah,
she coached her at Brown, which is
yeah.
another little like link in there too. So not really coincidence. I think it's kind of like they know they're good people, they know they're hard workers. And I know something that like Digit has really touched on about our captains, especially like the 3 out of the 4, is their leadership. They're big leaders. Like they're just setting the example constantly, both on the ice and off the ice.
Okay.
So speaking of coaching, we did mention in our last episode how like in small tournaments like this, coaching can really play a factor. And like I just want to kind of get an impression of what's Digit like and what's her relationship like with, I guess, you as well as the team. You know, what's she like?
A lot. Her energy is so high. She just loves hockey. Like she loves the sport, and she also just like loves like women empowerment and like the mission behind everything and everything we do and everything the league does. And she's high tempo, high energy all the time. The players love her. Like they seem like they love her. I don't know their opinions, but they seem like they love her. She's so funny. Like I have a video of it, but she like has this like analogy of the puck that it's a baby and like you need to like take care of it and like not hurt it. It's the most ridiculous thing, but it makes sense when she says it. It's high energy is the best way to describe her. So especially as a coach.
It's like Happy Gilmore. It's like, oh, just go home, ball.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, sweet. Nick, you got the question or? Oh, I think he's frozen.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Surprised it's not me that's frozen.
Oh, there we go. He's back.
He's made a return.
Hello. Did you just call on me to ask a question, Claire?
It looked like you might have had a question, but you froze.
Oh, no.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind then. Yeah, I guess so. Like all of us, we kind of did a bracket and like what we think the standings are going to be. We all had Boston in the finals, and so I guess like you guys have a bit of a tough opening schedule because you've got like those top 3 teams, and so I guess what's the mentality going into that, and how do you see the standings shaken out from what you've seen from the NWHL?
Every time I get asked this question, I have a different answer, because these teams have been like this is like these rosters this season are so talent like filled. Like I remember getting like when I was working on the league platforms, like getting told about upcoming signings and being like, whoa, they signed there, like they're coming to the NWHL, and like there's some big talent pools. So it's really hard to actually like put together like a projection, and I also think my bias gets in the way with both the T6 and the Rivs. But I'm also like the team. I hope everyone has fun. But if I had to say the order, I'm not gonna pick a winner, but I think the Buttes are gonna be last. They've had a couple of late subtractions from their roster, unfortunately. So I think the Buttes, they're a young team though, so I think they'll scare a few teams, but I don't think they'll do much better than like 6th or 5th. And then this is such a hard question. It's all over the place. I want to put like Minnesota. I hope Sam, who works for them, doesn't watch this. But I don't have high hopes in them this season. They've had an interesting way they've like crafted their roster this year. Ali Thunstrom's really good, but I don't know if she'll produce enough for them to get any higher. Then I probably got the Whale in next, and then probably the T6, and then I got Rivs in Boston at the top. To be honest, the Rivs forward core and their goaltending kind of scares me a little bit. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, because that's where Babstock landed, right?
Yeah, and Russo's back too, and like they got a deep roster.
Yeah, and like I know Babstock and Packer together kind of scare me a little bit from what I've heard.
Terrifying.
Yeah, like that's going to be a tough team.
Yeah, that'll be I can't believe that's the first game. That's going to be a gritty matchup. It's going to be like fast and like just so intense.
Yeah. So I guess what's the team doing then to kind of prepare for that like intense first matchup?
From what I gather, like the practices have been high intensity. Digit kind of sets the standard. Well, all the coaches do. They kind of set the standard of like making sure you're practicing how you're going to play. And the intensity level has been high. The physicality has been high. The communication is like up there. Like they're always talking on the ice. They're always making sure they all know where each other is during like breakouts and whatnot. And I think just their work that they've put in practice is going to prepare them for that.
Yeah. So if you guys have any more questions about how the season's going to shake out, you can do them now. But we are also thinking of talking just a bit about what it's been like to launch kind of a new brand and like an expansion team.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And like, just, so I guess, like, did you expect, because I saw today you guys hit like what, 9,000 followers on Twitter. So yeah. What's that like to have that kind of growth in such short period of time?
Insane. Absolutely insane. I actually have a text that I sent Digit like 6 months ago, like in the summertime, and she was like, what are your goals for the accounts? Like we were just talking about stuff, and she's like, what are your goals? And at this point, the season wasn't supposed to start in January. It was supposed to start in October, like end September. And I was like, if we have 5K on Twitter and 3K on Instagram by puck drop, I'll be happy. I said that in like June, and we hit those markers in like the next week or two. Like literally, like it happened so quick. And then I think about like the numbers from the CWHL teams. Like I think the Markham Thunder were at like a little less than 8K. The Furies were a little less than 11K. And I think about like how long they've had those accounts for, how long they've been a team for. Obviously things were a little different. Social media wasn't ran like ours has been. But it's crazy. It's been such like a whirlwind. Like every time we hit a marker, I'm just like shook and unbelievably like just blown away by the support and the hype around it. And
yeah, just so like just what's the response been like, I guess, especially compared to the Toronto Furies?
It's been like, it's just like a fun, like I feel like I've just created such a fun voice and such a fun hype of a team that hasn't played yet. So it's just a fun atmosphere to be on those accounts and to chat with the account. And the support has just been overwhelming. Like everyone loves like our content. Everyone loves everything we're putting out and whatnot, everything we do in the community, everything we do for ourselves, whatever it might be, everyone is positive about it. The only thing has been our jerseys, saying we look like the Ottawa Senators, but that's been the only thing. Other than that, yeah, never.
You really said that 3 nights ago.
people saying that the
They look more
logo
like
looks
the
like
Canes
a
or like the
75th anniversary
Flames.
logo.
Yeah, it does look like it. But they look like, in my opinion, like if I'm gonna compare those jerseys to an NHL team, I'm going either the Canes or the Flames. Like I don't think they look like the Senators, in my opinion.
And the color scheme, what I heard, like the red is for Canada, the gold is for the Golden Horseshoe. So, I mean, it sounds like there's a lot of good reasoning for their color scheme. They put a lot of thought into it.
Yeah, I actually got a DM request on Instagram the other day, and it was like, I want to support you guys. Like, and I'm rooting for your mission, but like, I don't know who was in charge of picking Ottawa Senators colors for a Toronto-based account. Or a Toronto-based team. Like, I don't know who was in charge of that, but like, what are you doing? I can't support this. All the best, though. Good luck, Greg. And I was like, okay, thanks, Greg. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, Greg. See you later, Greg. Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
Man. Thanks for the feedback. Yeah. No, when people say that,
sending it by Instagram, like this.
Yeah, no, when people are like, "Oh, it's Ottawa Senators colors," I'm like, "Well, maybe the Ottawa Senators are using Toronto 6 colors. Have we thought about
exactly?
That? Dear Nick.
Exactly. Yeah.
Alyssa, going off the point you're making about how much fun you're having, what's your favorite other team count to interact with right now?
My favorite is probably whenever the Pride thinks they're really funny, and they're really not. But probably interacting with the Pride has been my favorite, because again, like kind of like established a rivalry without even playing hockey because it's Boston, Toronto. But I like to get the gears going of the social media managers too for the Pride, and I joke around all the time that your jokes aren't that funny. But it's more of like a rivalry kind of like buddy kind of thing. I also love the Whale. The Whale have a great social media presence. It's really been built over the last few months. Their social media director name is Juliana. She's amazing. Their account's a lot of fun to interact with. So probably either the Pride or the Whale.
Sweet.
So I guess what game then are you most looking forward to like covering, because you're going to get to do live games under this account?
Yeah, I'm going to go with game 1 because I get to test my own skills and live tweet for 2 teams, which I've never done before. So I'm a little nervous. I'm not going to lie. Like I've kind of like had some moments of like, am I going to be able to do this? Or am I going to be able to like actually like properly cover this across both platforms? I definitely think I can. But that's probably the one I'm most looking forward to. And then second would probably be against the Pride because it's like a 8:15 p.m. start, I think on like a Tuesday night or something. That's going to be a lot of fun.
So we already talked a bit about Twitch, but my brother, he's actually studying sport management at Brock, and he actually did an assignment about the NWHL and Twitch. And I think he had a couple questions just about like how that's kind of affecting growth of the sport and all that. So Cameron, if you want to take it away.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like what I mentioned earlier, we didn't really have the opportunity to watch these games before. Now we do. Now it's not the same as like a TV network because not as many people have access to it and stuff, to an extent at least. But in a sense, it's almost like you're planning ahead for the future because I think that's like Twitch is growing really fast, and I think that's kind of where it's all going. And it means that people like all around the world basically can watch it, not just in the local market. So I guess I'm wondering kind of how did that partnership come about? Like, what was the motivation to use Twitch, which is primarily an esports streaming service? Yeah, like how did that come about?
Yeah, so that was announced. So they announced like a 3-year deal at the start of season 5, and I joined the league halfway through season 5. So from like an insider's perspective, I don't really know how much of like why exactly it went down the way it went. But what I do know is that they were really trying to capitalize on the platform of Twitch itself, because Twitch announced Twitch Sports. So they have like a sports page on their site that like either like professional sports teams are playing video games, their players are playing, or they're actually like airing like the NWSL also has their games live on Twitch. So I know it was like a thing that they were just trying to like get their hands on right away because it was growing as a platform. Something that I personally love about Twitch is the like, I want to say like the intimate factor of the fans. So like you can chat, like talk in the chat, and you can like get to know people within the Twitch chat. And I think
Exactly, it's
that,
interactive.
like, exactly, and I think that's something that like is missing from a lot of sports, and especially with women's hockey and women's sports in general. We need new things. We need to try new things, and we need to branch out and get some new markets. And I definitely think that
it almost gives you an advantage over other sports in some ways, because if you watch sports on a regular TV network, you don't really have that interactive experience. So it gives people a reason to have more interest in the NWHL as opposed to other leagues, which I guess that kind of leads to my next question. I don't know if you guys are ready for it yet. Can I move on?
Yeah, you can go in, Cameron.
Okay, so I was wondering, mostly from a marketing perspective for the Toronto Six, obviously you guys are unique in the sense that, it's the only professional women's team in the area, but in terms of just high-level hockey in general, there's plenty of teams. There's the Leafs, the Marlies, the Brampton Beast, the Mississauga Steelheads, Oshawa Generals, plus there's all kinds of junior A teams. And we've seen in the past some of these teams have kind of struggled to get the support they deserve because there's so many options and because it's a Leafs-dominated market. So I'm wondering, like, in your opinion, what is it about the Toronto Six that you think will set you apart from the competition? I hesitate to use the word competition because, of course, just because you're a fan of one of those teams doesn't mean you can't support others. But yeah, like, what do you think kind of sets you apart from the other options for watching hockey?
I think it's the mission of the T6 and of women's hockey and the NWHL as a whole that kind of sets that standard and sets that like divide almost of capturing those fans and capturing that exposure with those other big markets. Something that like I've personally tried to do with our brand and with our like audience is try and also just like get that fan base, like get that Leafs fan base. So like during the playoffs, when they played, well, it wasn't the playoffs technically, but when they played Columbus, I was kind of covering the games and like following along and stuff. And then we also made sure we like covered the NHL playoffs. So like we bandwagoned a few teams and we had some fun with it. We live tweeted some games and we went really well. We gained a lot of followers in the summer because of that.
Okay.
And it's kind of like, again, what picks apart from it is the mission and the idea of women's hockey. And I also just think like you could have both as well. Like you can be a part of both. Obviously we got to stick out a little differently. And I think we've done that through our voice, through our mission, through everything we're doing.
Yeah. So like the real competition, like of course, if you're a fan of the Leafs, like there's no reason for you to not want to support the Toronto Six and all that. I'm sure like that's probably one of your biggest target markets is the Leafs fan base. But I guess one of the challenges for a fan might be you're interested in this team, you know about them, but you only have so much time to dedicate to watching sports. So like of all the options, maybe some people don't feel that the Toronto Six are worth investing their time in. Now, what role does social media play in terms of like trying to promote this team and kind of all the stuff that you just said about why people should watch this team as opposed to others?
Yeah. So my mission from the start, so like since April 22nd, has been like it's gonna be really hard to hate us.
Okay.
Like it's gonna be really, really hard for the idiots to comment about how no one cares about women's sports and how no one actually cares about you, no one's gonna watch you. Like those comments are like, if you actually go through our Instagram comments and stuff, like you won't see stuff like that. Obviously if like Sportsnet was supposed to, you would see it, but like it's a different story. But I think just standing out and being likable and having good content, getting people to know who your players are, getting people to know who your staff are, and having that like intimacy of our followers knowing who our team is through social media. Again, we haven't played a game, so it's been kind of difficult to do that. But my looking at it as like has always been like it'll be really hard for people to just like not like us and not want to follow us.
And I agree with most of that, like what you said about posting good content too and being likable, because obviously if you're a borderline fan, it's easier to sauce your account to follow than it is to actually watch a game. So
exactly.
Yeah, like if they're following your accounts and then they like what they're seeing, like that can just help build a stronger connection between your team and them as fans. And like, having a strong connection like that with the social media account can lead them to want to watch games and kind of move up the fan elevator.
Absolutely.
Bigger fans.
So we don't have too much time left because I won't spring for like an upgraded Zoom account. So we're gonna run out of time soon. But I guess like the one thing that I would really like to just like maybe wrap things up on is like what's your elevator pitch for why people should watch the Toronto Six this year? Like not just engage with the social media, but like actually sit down and watch a game if you could do it like one or two sentences.
It's good hockey. Like it's gonna be intense. It's gonna be fast. Obviously, it's not men's hockey. I think a lot of the times people are like, they get upset that it's not men's hockey. They get like mad that there's no hitting, and they get mad that there's no CTE. Sorry, I said that a lot. But they get mad that it's not that intense. But women's hockey is so intense, and especially like in the NWHL. I said it earlier, but the rosters are sick. Like it's new players, it's new everything. And from the T6 perspective, it's new. Like 85%, 90% of our players, even more, have never stepped foot on NWHL ice. And also with it being a bubble season, like anything can happen. Everything's different. Games are different. Everything, like the intensity is elevated. Playing in Herb Brooks Arena, like Miracle, all that stuff. It's worth to watch, and it's free to watch too. Click on the Twitch link and you're there and you're watching. You can't say no. You can watch it on your phone, you can watch it on your computer, you can watch it on your smart TV. It's easy to do, and the viewers mean more to us than the social media, obviously, but they both matter. But just watch it because it's worth it.
Yeah. And I know you played women's hockey and I played women's hockey, and like I just want to say, just because it's no hitting doesn't mean it's no contact. And
oh my gosh, no, not at all.
And like especially with there's so few teams and they play each other so frequently, like the hate boils over very fast, and there will be some contact.
Yeah, something that I noticed like last year too, when I started like working in the NWHL and paying attention more to the NWHL, is like how intense of a league it is. Like the intensity levels are high. Like they're throwing bodies, like they're all over the place. And it's intense, and it's really good hockey.
We got about 2 minutes left before this call expires, because I'm cheap. So if anyone's got any final thoughts before we kind of wrap things up.
Yeah, well, I was kind of thinking to add to that, like for the people who say like they're just not as interested because it's not men's hockey and stuff. That's kind of one idea that I have that I've mentioned before, is to have teams in smaller markets. Now, like I fully support the idea of Toronto having a team. Like it's the biggest hockey market in the world. You can't not have at least one team there. But like we see in a place like London, Ontario, how well they support the Knights, for example. Because it's a medium-sized city. They love hockey, and it's just the best team around. So and then in Saskatoon, they support their lacrosse team like crazy because it's the best sports around. So if you go in cities like that more, I feel like people might be more interested because it's the best hockey available. They don't have a men's team or an NHL team to watch. So like that's literally the team. Like that's that city's only team. So yeah, I think that can help from a growth perspective.
Yeah.
Just teams in smaller markets.
Just to wrap things up before we get kicked off here, thank you so much, Alyssa, for coming on and helping us preview the season. Like, I am really fired up, and make sure you catch the opening day on January 23rd. Thank you for joining the Bubble Buddies, where we're all friends and big fans.